up, YouTube? This is King Gio. So this is an update on my son's chemotherapy. So as you know, my son's going through testicular cancer, and we started chemotherapy 3 weeks ago. He has 3 BEPs to do. So what it is, you go 5 days chemo, then the following week 1 day, the following week another day, then you start on again 5 weeks, up to 5 days per week. I mean, the 5 days in 1 week. So his first cycle was done on last Wednesday, and this is just a reminder that these things do happen, and I'm just letting you know so you don't get scared. So he got his chemo on Wednesday, and it was the lowest dose that they gave him, and lasted 20 minutes. But the wait time at the chemo office was, we waited more for him to be called there and being on the chemo. So they checked his blood count. I mean, they did his lab work, and it came out that his white blood cell counts were low, but they did it anyway because he had no fever. So he went to the procedure, we went to the chemo, and then as we came out of the chemo, we go home. On our way home, right before we were going to go home, my son tells me he feels cold. So gave him, checked his temperature, and it came out he had 102 fever. But mind you, we just came out of chemotherapy. Like, it was maybe like an hour and a half before, because it takes an hour and a half to get from chemo to my house. So I took him to the emergency room. So when I took him to the emergency room, when he did the lab work, his white blood cell counts were at, when they did his chemo, it was at 1.6, and that's low. And it was at 0.8, and his nephrophilus count was low. I'm talking about 0.2. So he had what's just called nephroleptic fever, which means that his nephrophilus cells went low, and when they go low, you got a fever. And it could have been also a reaction to the chemo, because when they say that you probably got an infection. So we're at this so we're in the emergency room in my town, right? So they're giving him antibiotics, they did his culture and all that kind of stuff. So with the antibiotics and the medication they're giving him, his temperature went down, went back to normal, 98 point whatever the case may be. So then the doctor says, we're not gonna, I want to admit him, but we can't admit him here because we got no bed. You gotta go to your main hospital. So like, okay, whatever, but if there's nothing special, just stay here, because I'm 10 minutes away from my house, so emergency room. Oh, he's a risk patient, and you can't take care of him like they can't take care of him at his hospital. Like, what are you talking about? You got, you do have a cancer center right next to you, same hospital. So he made me feel that he didn't want my son there, because he said, so whenever your son needs you, if your son gets this again, take him to the hospital, take him to the emergency room, and let's say Chapel Hill, that's where he's at. Take him to Chapel Hill. And I'm like, why would I take my son if he has 102 fever, drive all the way drive an hour and a half away from my house, when the emergency room is 10 minutes away from my house, and Chapel Hill's an hour and a half away? Why would I do that? So we get to Chapel Hill, we get there around 4 o'clock. We get there 4, and no bed 5, no bed 6, no bed nothing. They put us in observatory at around 11:30, and they just give him this, they're giving him the same meds, nothing special. So I spoke to the doctor today, and I said, doctor, this was a waste of time, because you could have just kept us in the emergency room in my town and given the same meds, because the same thing you guys are giving him, the same thing they were giving him in the other hospital. They're both the same hospital. It's run by UNC. And he goes, you're right. You should have never came to this hospital. They should have left you over there, because we're not giving you anything special. We're giving you the same meds that they're giving you. And all they're waiting is for the blood culture, to make sure that there's no growth in the blood culture. So far, this was Wednesday night. Yeah, Wednesday night. So far there has been no growth within 24 hours. So we saw the doctors today, and he said, I'm gonna keep him overnight to make sure that there's no more growth, and I want to make sure that his white blood counts go a little bit more up. And then I said, well, if in the event that his white blood counts don't go up, what are we gonna do? I mean, does it need to go up, and then there's no growth in his culture? But what we can do is that I can feel satisfied. I can send your son home with antibiotics. He takes some antibiotics. But I said, okay, fine. So that's cool because he has another chemo coming up this Tuesday. And if this, I don't want to go through this over again. So his doctor's got to know, you got to do something because they do lab work for a reason. Every time you do a chemo, to make sure that you're okay. So they don't do your lab work every day, but when you start a new cycle, they do your labs. So with that being said, just want to let you guys know that if you do get a fever while you're in chemo, go to your doctor, go to the emergency room, let them know that you're a cancer patient, and just take it from there. When and this is for chemo, this is for anybody, HIV, whatever the case may be. If your white blood cell counts are low, please refrain yourself from touching anyone, from hugging anyone, unless you're wearing a mask, because your white blood cells are cells that attacks the bacteria, and if you have a bacteria and you have a low white blood cell count, that's not good, because then your body can't fight off the bacteria. So if you have a white blood count and it's low, make sure you maintain everything sanitized and all that kind of stuff. And you do your lab works and you check, learn how to read your lab works so that you know what numbers you are looking at. Your markers, your this, your that, so you have an idea and you don't get left out in the loop. What is he or she talking about? You understand? But if it does happen to you, don't be scared. You start shivering uncontrollably. It's your body telling you you have a fever somewhere, and to go to the hospital. But to be honest, I don't know why they even gave my son that the chemo, because when they took his blood, not his blood, when they did his temperature was at 99.9, and they want you to go to the hospital, the emergency room, if your temperature is at 100.4. So there's not a big difference between 99.9 and 100.4. So that it's not normal. He's not at 98. He's at 99. So let me hold off with this chemo for a while. And then you see the white blood count. So standard-wise, when I spoke to the nurse navigator, she said, to the doctor, I'm sorry. The doctor said normally we give him chemo if there's no fever, even with a white blood count, low blood count, because we can take care of that. But I guess they didn't anticipate. When you have a low nephrolis cells, a low count, you can get infected. You can get an infection easily. With anything, like the doctor said, you and I can touch a doorknob and I get sick, but he can't, because his defenses are low, and not just the nephritis, the WBC, his white blood cell count. So if you have that, don't be afraid. Don't get scared. It's always important, people, to have an open communication with your doctor. I'm kind of, that's going to be for another video, but make sure that you have good communication with your doctor, good communication with the team, so whenever you do need something, they can help you out. you know. So with that said, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and go do so. So let you know when I can have uploaded a video. Peace. Oh, and subscribe to my channel. I'm poor, man. I need money. I really do.